According to the complaint, the defendant entered the home of their ex on 2nd Avenue Northwest while they were away and waited for them to return. When they entered the residence, the defendant allegedly ambushed them from behind with a machete in their hand and ordered them to take their clothes off and get into bed. The victim later told police they complied with the defendant's demands out of fear for their safety and did not feel they could retreat from the room without being harmed. The 19-year-old allegedly then took their pants off while holding the large knife in their hands and proceeded to have sex with the victim. The victim claimed the defendant bit them in the arm and continued to have sex with them even after trying to stop. Afterwards, the victim sat on the bed, naked, brandishing the machete. The victim was able to take several photos of the defendant in that state, which they later handed over to police as evidence. The defendant and the victim had got into an argument during which the nude 19-year-old allegedly ripped off a piece of trim from the wall and urinated on the bed. At one point, the Great Falls Tribune reported the man was able to dial 911 after telling the defendant they were calling a friend. When police arrived, the defendant claimed they had been kidnapped by their ex and that they had been given the machete for self-protection. Now, this incident comes just 19 days after being arrested for allegedly assaulting and strangling that same person. I did the best I could to keep the names and genders out of this. But now we're going to go to the slew of articles because it is an interesting read. And now we're going to read how it was reported. Machete-wielding woman 19 broke into her ex-boyfriend's home and forced him to have sex with her. She hid in her ex's house and held a machete while forcing him to have sex. Woman forced ex to have sex holding machete to his face. Forced ex to have sex, a machete point. Women use machete to force ex-boyfriend to have sex. Now, the way I described this situation, if you had put a man in her role, what do you think? What word is suspiciously missing from every single article? Right? Every single article. Everyone's profiting off this. And not one person is calling what it really is. Do you know what she was charged with? The most recent data I can find is she's been charged with aggravated burglary and assault with a weapon, criminal mischief, assault, and unlawful restraint. Notice what's missing from that. Now, I know it's a bit of a meme because, well, she doesn't look like a horrible monster. And you may be inclined to be like, heh, nice. Nice. But what this woman did was rape. And it will not be reported that way. As of currently, she has not been charged of this crime. And it's pretty curious to me. If you were to reverse the genders, I'd say every one of these articles would be reading about the devil man. not going out of their way to talk about how she looked in a weird mental state. Now, she was booked in a jail on $50,000 bond and simply ordered to stay away from her ex-boyfriend. No big deal. They made note that the female suspect appeared to be suffering from a mental health problem and was in a confused state. This is someone who broke in, armed themselves, waited for the victim to get home, and raped them. Then pissed on their bed. Does that sound like somebody who is confused? Not one website called this what it was. Not one. And I suppose it's easy to look at this young girl and think, nice. But what if this girl had, I don't know, AIDS or something? What if she was like 400 pounds and full of pockmarks and acne? Would you still be saying nice? I don't think you would. Even in the comment or the tweet I put out, a lot of the comments are like, nice. And okay, it's a bit of a joke. It's a bit of a meme. But that's how we're conditioned. We're conditioned that females are capable. And if you were to swap the genders in this case, I don't think there's a better definition of that crime. Yet she's charged with everything else. Maybe they will amend the charge. Certainly, every website I find isn't using the correct terminology. And do we think that she'll get any sort of long-term charges? I don't know. It's very hard to say. But what I do know is you can see a clear. Why wouldn't anybody write this the way it is? It's sad. It really is. It gets into the kind of the Me Too mentality of society today, and we'll talk about it a little bit more on today's live stream. I have a live stream today at about 5 p.m. Central, which will be about 3 hours from the release of this video, in case you don't get a notification. But the fact that this woman was merely charged with burglary, assault, that tells you something, doesn't it? Now, maybe they'll change the charges, but why? Why is nobody calling it what it is? Why is that word can't be found in any of these articles? Not one. Why do you think that is?